The shrine appears over Tokyo at 3:47 in the morning. Nobody sees it coming. The next second, malevolent shrine erupts across a 200-meter radius. Everything reduced to dust. The degree of damage catastrophic across everything within its radius. Yuka Okutsu arrives first. She can feel it from kilometers away. She drops into the radius running, Mahoraga rising from her shadow. She sees Yuji's face behind the tattoos. She stops for exactly 1 second. That second is what kills her. Now, let's rewind to where the story begins. At the end of Jujutsu Kaisen, Sukuna's last remaining finger sits in a cushioned wooden box with a paper talisman on its lid. No soul connection, no danger, just a relic, the world's most terrifying cursed object being used as a glorified air freshener. Nobody guarded it. The war was over. 68 years passed. Now it is 2086. Yuji Itadori is still alive, barely aging, the immortal guardian of Jujutsu Society, watching every person he ever loved grow old and die while he stayed exactly the same. He had eventually disappeared entirely. He became a man in a hood sitting alone trying to become invisible. Then the Sumerians arrived, an alien race possessing powers almost identical to cursed energy. Yuji, who had been living completely off the grid, gets located by Jujutsu headquarters. They need him. They send the Sukuna finger box as a gesture of good faith. Proof that the old era is truly over. Proof that everything Yuji sacrificed actually meant something. They hand him the last piece of Sukuna's seal. Yuji holds the box alone that night, opens it, looks at the finger the way you look at the grave of someone you spent your whole life fighting. The moment Yuji's skin met the finger, something that was supposed to be dead wasn't anymore. Yuji didn't even feel it happen. 1 second he was staring at the finger. The next, the second pair of eyes opened. And they weren't his. Sukuna took his first breath in 68 years inside arguably the strongest body that had ever existed. Here's the thing about wearing Modulo's Yuji's body. By 2086, Yuji had surpassed both Gojo and Sukuna. Yes, I said it. Yuji possessed blood manipulation with full mastery, shrine technique refined over 68 years to interact directly with the soul, and Black Flash triggered seemingly at will, something no other sorcerer in the series had demonstrated. Sukuna had worn Megumi's body like a borrowed tool, while this one fits like it was made for him, which technically it had been. He found Yuki Tsukumo's research diary, the complete foundation for Maru's plan to erase cursed energy from the world. Sukuna read every page. Then he burned it. The only thing that could have ended him permanently became ash before anyone knew it was gone. Maru was the strongest warrior among the Remelian refugees, a diplomat with ruthless resolve, willing to fight allies to the death to fulfill his mission. His third eye could read cursed energy at a level of precision no one else possessed. That third eye was his death sentence. Sukuna spent 3 days playing Yuji. He had 68 years of memories to work with. He walks into the diplomatic session wearing the role perfectly. Maru's face lit up when he saw him. Maru opened his third eye. The energy signature was Yuji's on the surface, but behind it was something ancient, something that had been waiting for decades and was not in a patient mood. Maru's third eye began crying before he could process why. He ran. He was fast actually. Sukuna let him run for 3 full seconds, enough for genuine hope to bloom. He then closed the distance in a single step and put a soul dismantle through his face. Maru didn't scream. His body simply stopped understanding how to stay upright and folded quietly onto the ground. Sukuna stepped over him without looking down and kept walking. Maru was the only instrument that could expose the deception before it was complete. In Sukuna's eyes, first problems get solved first. Mahito had existed for 68 years in a passageway for the circulation of souls, a liminal space made possible by the residue of his own idol transfiguration, a bridge between the living world and the place souls go when they stop being able to stay. He couldn't reach the living world freely. He needed a soul-based connection, a thread, a crack, something his technique could grip. For 68 years, he had been looking for Yuji's. Yuji kept not dying, which was the single most inconsiderate thing anyone had ever done to Mahito. But a soul under occupation is a different thing entirely. Yuji's soul was still in there, buried under Sukuna's dominance, able to see and hear everything happening in the world outside and completely unable to stop any of it. That kind of desperate soul was exactly the kind of crack Mahito's technique could find. He found it on the 4th day. He didn't arrive dramatically. He simply appeared in the space where Yuji's soul was trapped. 68 years of waiting, and there was Yuji, finally, genuinely helpless. No Toto to intervene, no black flash to throw, no friends to fight for. Just Yuji alone in the dark of his own body, watching through his own eyes as someone else uses his hands to destroy the world once again. Mahito had a vengeful and obsessive need to torment Yuji. He rebuilt Shibuya inside the passageway. Every street, every collapsed building, and every face of every person who died there while Yuji was too weak to stop it. He made Yuji stand in the middle of it all. He wanted Yuji to feel one final time the full weight of everything that had ever been done in his name. This was the most emotionally devastating moment of Yuji's entire life. Mahito had finally won. Then Sukuna noticed the disturbance. He had been busy. He had people to eliminate. He noticed Mahito the way you notice a sound in another room. Not threatening, just present. He turned his attention inward. He looked at the soul passageway Mahito had opened through Yuji's own anguish. Mahito had made one catastrophic miscalculation. He invaded Sukuna's space. Everything happened in less than a millisecond. The whole Shibuya reconstruction collapsed in an instant. The passageway closed, and the soul that had spent 68 years haunting the space between life and death simply stopped. Not exorcised, not absorbed, just ended. With the same casual finality Sukuna applied to everything that interrupted him. In the dark of his own body, Yuji felt Mahito disappear. And then he was alone once again. Still trapped, still watching through his own eyes, still unable to move. Sukuna exhaled through his nose and turned his attention back to the living world. Next. The Bora saw Yuji arrive on the battlefield and felt the shifts immediately. He had studied Itadori from a distance. He pivoted his strategy accordingly. He prepared for soul attacks and blood manipulation. He had never prepared for Sukuna though. Nobody who was still alive in 2086 had needed to. Sukuna activated Malevolent Shrine immediately. The guaranteed hits flooded the air. The Bora was extraordinary. The strongest Cimmerian warrior alive tore through the killing field with everything he had. His light-based technique carving paths through the automatic slashes. He almost made it. Sukuna closed the distance personally and ended it with a single cleave. Sukuna respected Jogo enough to acknowledge his strength before killing him, one of the rare moments he offered any recognition to an opponent. He does the same for the Bora. He looks at the body for one long moment, the particular attention of someone who encountered something that genuinely held their interest. The strongest Cimmerian warrior who ever lived got exactly 11 seconds of Sukuna's full attention. That is more than most people ever get from the King of Curses. There were two people left in 2086 who could have stopped this. Yuka and Tsurugi Okutsu, the grandchildren of Yuta and Maki. Yuka carried the Ten Shadows technique through her Zenin bloodline, while Tsurugi carried his grandfather's ring around his neck and a fully heavily restricted body, trained since childhood by Maki herself. Together they were the best humanity had left. After the Sukuna massacre, the war between humans and Cimmerians had erupted so fast that by the time Jujutsu headquarters realized what was happening, there was no organized response left to give. Maru was dead, the Bora was dead, the diplomatic framework that was supposed to hold everything together had collapsed. What remained was Tsurugi and Yuka. Tsurugi decided first. He always did. He took the ring from around his neck, called Rika, the first cursed spirit sorcerer fusion in Jujutsu Kaisen history, becoming a special grade level threat within seconds. He pulled the split soul katana from his shadow, the blade that ignores all physical resistance and cuts directly at the soul. He looked at it for 1 second, thought about his grandmother, thought about what she would say, and then stepped into Malevolent Shrine. Heavily restricted individuals with no cursed energy cannot be properly sensed by domain sure hits. They operate entirely outside the normal mechanics of Jujutsu sorcery. Malevolent Shrine would hit him with Dismantle instead of Cleave, calibrated to destroy him specifically. He moved through it the way every heavily restricted fighter before him had moved through the impossible. He got very close. Close enough that for 1 fraction of a second the split soul katana was a real and viable threat. Sukuna got impressed, so impressed that he raised one hand. Cleave. The split soul katana hit the ground a half a second before Tsurugi did. 2 generations of inheritance. My soul. Maki's legacy. Everything the Okutsu and the Zenin bloodline had built across 68 years, face down in the rubble of what used to be Tokyo. Yuka felt the cursed energy signature of Malevolent Shrine from kilometers away, pressing against the air like a hand against glass. She already knew what the empty battlefield meant. She found the ring buried under the rubble. She held it for a long time. The ring had been the center of everything between the 2 siblings. Tsurugi couldn't give it back until he proved he didn't need it. Yuka couldn't claim it back until she proved she was strong enough to deserve it. He never got to prove anything. And now the ring was back in her hands, not because she had earned it, but because her brother had walked into Malevolent Shrine alone and left it behind for her to find. Jujutsu headquarters made the call within the hour. They had assessed what remained, which was nothing. No sorcerers at full capacity, no techniques left untried, no contingency plan that hadn't already been exhausted. What they had was one person still standing, a girl with a malignant brain tumor and 6 months left to live. A condition she had kept secret from her brother her entire life, a secret he died without ever knowing. It's 3:47 AM in Tokyo. Sukuna senses Yuka before she arrives. The 10 Shadows technique has a cursed energy signature unlike anything else in the world, the only technique that's ever piqued Sukuna's genuine interest. He activated his domain immediately. Yuka came running with everything she had left, Mahoraga rising from her shadow, and her grandfather's ring on her finger for the first and only time. The binding vow burning through her lifespan, exponentially increasing her power in exchange for the time she no longer had anyway. The binding vow is what kept her moving, the power of a life traded in full, burning so hot it outpaced the domain's calibration for exactly 1 heartbeat. Just 1 moment, but with everything she had left to spend. In that moment, she saw Yuji's face behind the tattoos, and stopped for exactly 1 second. Cleave found her. The ring caught the light for 1 moment on her finger at last, the way Yuta had always intended. Mahoraga vanished the instant she hit the ground. And then, Sukuna did something nobody anticipated. He converted the body into a cursed object. Yuji's own final plan in the real timeline was to do exactly this, turn his soul into cursed objects, protecting the future generations for centuries to come. Sukuna did it first. Permanent survival, eternal dominance, the king of curses sealed inside the strongest body ever built. He thought he had won. He hadn't read the fine print. Yuji Itadori was always a cage for Sukuna, not a vessel, a once-in-a-millennium phenomenon where the host can overpower and contain the entity sealed within. Converting the body into a cursed object didn't change what Yuji's soul fundamentally is. It just made the arrangement permanent. No switching bodies, no transfer ritual. Special grade cursed objects cannot be destroyed. Their continued existence guaranteed under a binding vow. Sukuna won every battle, every single one, and in winning completely, he sealed himself inside the one thing in the history of Jujutsu Kaisen universe that was specifically built to hold him. Forever. In the dark of his own body, in the place where Yuji had been watching since day one, something settled. The devastating recognition of two souls that were always going to end up here. Because this was never a war with a winner. It was always a story about two things that could not exist without each other and could not destroy each other. The King of Curses and his cage, bound together across 1,000 years of history.